And we will begin with the Miami Dolphins versus the San Francisco 49ers. Looks like the 49ers are set to get back a few of their key playmakers this week. Jimmy Garoppolo and Raheem Mostert both practicing on the week. Dolphins relatively healthy across the board. Doesn't look like this is going to be much of a competition, though. Dolphins traveling from Miami all the way to the Bay, and that doesn't typically bode well when you have to travel from coast to coast in either direction. So we'll see how this game ends up going. I'm hoping for some more fantasy points here. Vegas is positive that this one will be a good high-scoring game, a 51.5 over-under. 49ers heavy favorites here, -9 spread. 49ers on defense, even considering the losses that they've sustained with Richard Sherman and Bosa going down, Solomon going down, like they've lost a lot of pieces, and yet they've continued to be a really dominant defense, which I think that just goes to show like how well run this team is right now from a coaching perspective. So 49ers have been really good at slowing down. They've been the best team against the run, the second best team against tight ends, and they've been above average against quarterbacks and receivers. So that is definitely going to depress some of the fantasy options here on the Dolphins side, whereas the Dolphins have been a salve across the board. Number 6 in terms of points allowed for quarterbacks, number 7 for running backs, number 7 for wide receivers. They've been decent at stopping tight ends, but they haven't faced any real good tight ends as of now, so not worried about Kittle by any means, especially after he went nuclear on Sunday night. So this should be a pretty dominant game for the 49ers. We're just hoping the Dolphins have enough garbage time to make it worthwhile for you. Pretty much for me, though, I'm nervous. I am nervous about starting anyone here outside of Devante Parker. Devante Parker is a beast. We saw DeAndre Hopkins was the only receiver to have a pretty good game against the 49ers, but I think Parker could have a pretty good game in this one. I guess you could talk me into starting Gaskin if this ends up being a route where the 49ers are just up by a ton of points. They could end up throwing a lot of check down passes to Myles Gaskin. Mike Gesicki, he's just disappointed every week except for one. He's been a pretty big disappointment on the season for me. After we were pretty high on him, we might have to basically table him until we see what Tua ends up doing when Tua takes over. This could be the last game for Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he comes out and has another dud performance against this tough 49ers defense, we might be seeing Tua in week 6. So keep that in mind, and I mean that could even potentially happen mid-game. But the only starter on the Dolphins side that I'm feeling comfortable with is Devante Parker. On the 49ers side, regardless of whether or not Raheem Mostert is active, you're playing Jerick McKinnon. He's looked great. He's scored a touchdown in every single game up to this point. And even if that doesn't continue, he has been their best running back. Raheem Mostert as well, coming back potentially. He's practicing in a limited fashion right now, so it's looking positive for him to come back, but going to have to monitor that practice report. If he plays, I'm playing him. The Dolphins' run defense has been pretty bad, so I'm not really too concerned. Even if he only gets a limited workload, I think he gets enough go to have a good fantasy day. Of course, you're starting George Kittle. The 49ers defense are one of the better plays on the week. And where it gets more interesting is, are you going to start Deebo Samuel or Brandon Aiyuk? Depending on your league format, I think there's definitely room to negotiate them in. We saw Deebo Samuel barely play last week. They're going to continue to ease him back into the role that he had last year, trying to avoid any re-injuries to that foot. And then Brandon Aiyuk has looked basically the same part that what they were playing with Deebo Samuel. So I am concerned with how the touch share is going to go between these guys. It could end up being a situation where one guy's good one week and the other guy completely duds you, and they trade off back and forth. So for me, until we see what this usage looks like, we see if Jimmy Garoppolo is even playing this week, I would really want to know, though, like once Deebo is fully healthy, what does that look like? Are they actually using both of these guys consistently? Is it going to go back and forth? Hopefully by this point, you're not reliant on either Deebo Samuel or Brandon Aiyuk. I think this is going to be kind of a trap shootout kind of game. I'm expecting a lower score than Vegas is anticipating. So I'm trying to avoid putting either Deebo or Brandon Aiyuk into my lineup if I can avoid it. No one else on the 49ers side that we're starting. Isaiah Ford, Preston Williams, we're not touching them on the Dolphins side. Again, pretty nervous about this Dolphins team. Ryan Fitzpatrick has performed pretty poorly in the past when he's had a rookie nipping at his heels. He's typically a quarterback that is better at taking over later in the year rather than a guy that starts out. So we've already seen the cracks coming through for him. This could be a pretty poor performance against the 49ers. So wait and see. Parker's the only guy I'm really comfortable starting there. And as we said, I'm expecting this to be a blowout. So I think the Dolphins will lose this one pretty decisively. I got the 49ers 31 to the Dolphins 20. But even that, I feel like is a little bit too much for me. So we'll see. I think that the 49ers win this one pretty easily. I think there could be some defensive scoring here, which is why I have the score kind of higher. I think that's kind of what Vegas is thinking as well. Look for there to potentially be like a pick six or a fumble recovery there. But overall, 49ers should win this one pretty handedly.